It's Game On. Presented by Spectrum Sports.
And a very pleasant good evening from the Stan Sheriff Center in Manoa, where today it is the rematch between the number 2 ranked University of Hawaii Rainbow Warriors and the 8th ranked Cardinal of Stanford. And this is Game On, presented by Spectrum Sports for Rainbow Warrior Volleyball. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Scott Robbs. Here in the corner. There's one thing that we could just about promise. Tonight's volleyball rematch will be much more entertaining than Super Bowl 53 was. You can almost guarantee that. If you're just joining us after watching that Super Bowl, congratulations to the New England Patriots. All right, this is the rematch on Friday. These two teams went at it, and we'll take a look at the box from that night. Hawaii winning in 3. Guys, what really stood out, if anything, in that match for you?
Well, what jumped out to me, of course, is the kill percentage, but the blocks from Hawaii, 8.5, and Stanford with 1 block in 3 games. That's not a great number for Stanford.
I think the consistency of the service from the service line from University of Hawaii was really good, and I think that the middle blockers are doing great at the net with discipline and, letting their diggers dig the ball and making it easy on them.
Well, let's look at some of the highlights from Friday night's affair. We start off with Radu Parnapunov, who had 17 kills to lead Hawaii, and he was hot early, and it carried through all 3 sets for Hawaii.
Well, I can't agree more, and I think Cindy Lewis had it correctly this morning in Sunday's paper with Rado Reigns titled in her paper. He really had a fantastic night.
Dewey Stein had 11 kills, but maybe, or it is, his worst hitting percentage night. He only hit $167.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot different tonight. I mean, I want to say it, as scary as it is, that's his off night.
And then Gage Worsley, who we had in the corner after the match, he was terrific. He had 11 digs, some of them that he admitted he didn't even see.
Well, he admitted that he basically stands and closes his eyes and becomes a moving target, is what he said. And there you can see, I mean, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's so emotional, and he gets very pumped for his team.
The thing we were all concerned about, Hawaii had not played in 20 days. It was by far the toughest competition to this point of the season. I would say that they passed the test against Stanford on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they were firing from all cylinders. All pin hitters did well from the service line. I think the hitting percentage shows. I think the blocking numbers shows. They were completely dominant over Stanford, and I don't expect anything different from tonight.
Well, it was interesting talking with Joe Worsley after the match. He was a little frustrated with himself. He said, man, I'm a little rusty. I felt like we got a little bit of a slow start. And they still swept Stanford, and he was frustrated, feeling like the lag in the 20-day off, that he wasn't as consistent as he'd like to have been.
And if you're the Cardinal, you probably felt like you did not play up to your potential on Friday night.
Well, I can definitely see how they feel they didn't play up to their potential. I think they had a huge win earlier in the week against UC Irvine, who was at the time ranked number 2. And there we see head coach John Costi in his 13th season as the head coach. They're rebuilding their team this year. They've got 15 returning players on the squad.
Absolutely. I think night 2, Stanford's going to come out a lot more consistent from the service line, especially on service eve. I know they struggled from night 1, and I think they're going to play a lot better. I think they're going to have a heavy load from Jalen Jasper and Jordan Ewer. I think in order for them to win, those guys are going to have a really big night.
Well, it's the rematch, Hawaii-Stanford. To talk more about it, let's go courtside to the gentlemen. They'll be calling the action, Kanoa and Ryan. Guys.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Yeah, next to Ryan Kalei-Suji, I'm Kanoa Leahy, and Ryan, the corner crew, kind of touched on a little bit there. And Charlie Wade even talked about it immediately after the match on Friday night, saying, hey, look, the rematch always tends to favor the team that lost in terms of the greatest amount of improvement from night to night. I anticipate that you're expecting Stanford to come out guns blazing.
Yeah, and you think about it, we normally, when we see these back-to-back matchups, it's traditionally the next night right after that first night. Not only have they had more time, but they have more opportunities to review film, more time in between these matches that happened on Friday and tonight to really examine and develop a game plan for Hawaii. They technically could not practice yesterday because of NCAA ruling, but the team on their own actually gathered together in the gym, did their own workout. So nice to see that the team continued to take this match seriously.
Charlie Wade also talking about the fact that, hey, look, yeah, Stanford will probably want to figure out ways in which it can play better. so do we. What do you think are some of the areas that Hawaii can actually play better here as opposed to Friday night?
Well, it's hard to find an area where Hawaii did not play well in. I mean, they hit for a good percentage. I think one of the things for individually, Stein von Tilburg hitting for a better percentage than what he did. He struggled a little bit early on in the match. I don't expect that to be the case. I also think that if Hawaii could get Colton Kawa a little bit more involved, he did not necessarily have as many attempts. But when you're firing from all those other positions, it's hard really to find an area where you think Hawaii needs to improve because they look pretty dominant on Friday night.
Well, just 2 losses on the season so far for Stanford, and both of them against teams that at the time were ranked number 2 in the country. How important is this, you think, for Hawaii? Because, that's always sort of the exception when it comes to these kinds of 2-match series, is if it's a split, you don't really know which team is better. Hawaii can go a long way to say, hey, look, we are the better team by winning again tonight.
Yeah, and I think it helps their confidence moving forward. This is going to be the last real big test for a while. Hawaii will go on the road. They'll get challenged on the road a little. But in terms of the level of competition, Stanford is going to be a team that will present problems for them, and they're going to have to find a way to win. And then after this, there's going to be some opportunity maybe for the bench to get involved because the teams aren't going to be as good. So for Hawaii, I think it's a confidence booster. Knowing that you can beat a good Stanford team and do it 2 nights is something that will only help this team in the long run.
I'm no fortune teller, but I predict a better match, a more competitive game than Super Bowl 53. Let's send it back over to the corner crew.
I think that's a no-brainer. I think we all agree with that one. Hey, when we come back, we're going to focus on the middles for the Bulls, but a reminder, connect with Spectrum Sports by liking our fan page on Facebook, Instagram, or via Twitter at Spec Sports High or hashtag Hawaii MVB. You're watching Game On.
I wanted to come in kind of like a more leader on the court. I feel like I was kind of always just like a supporter the last few years, but this year I want to like focus on like bringing my teammates up rather than like just kind of watching from the sidelines. And like I know we're gonna have like our challenges this year. Like we've only played 3 games. Like I want to be like more like a stable force on the court that someone can like look to and be like, hey, like he's not freaking out yet, so we're good.
Thoughts of Patrick Gassman, one of the 2 middles for the University of Hawaii, who have a rematch tonight against 8th-ranked Stanford. Of course, the other middle is Dalton Solberg. He's a bit undersized for that position, but he definitely makes up for it with his quickness.
I'm still 6'6". It's not like I'm out there and I'm like 6 feet tall playing middle. I'm still like a big guy. But there's teams we play that have 7-foot middles and really long guys with long arms that they can block without hardly even jumping. So it's been a focal point for us to get away from the middle. Like those teams that have the big middles, run 3-ball, run the slide, get away from the middles and like put a lot more pressure on their pins. Using my foot speed to my advantage. I'm faster than like most middles, I think. Joe watches a ton of film, our film, the teams we play, professional teams. And he always likes to incorporate some of that stuff in our practice gym. So like this, running the slide a little bit, that's from pro teams like Brazil. They run like a little stuff behind the setter. We're just trying to give different looks, find different ways to win.
Well, both middles have been extremely successful to this point of the year. There you see the numbers for Solberg, hitting 500, 1.33 kills percent, and Patrick Gassman not doing much better, not about the same at 1.60 and hitting 407. So the middles have definitely contributed early on for the Bulls, and Charlie Wade talks about them.
I really think they're going to kind of go, I don't want to say unnoticed, but kind of the unsung heroes and really stabilize the middle of the court for us. Both can attack. It will never be a poor decision to set them. Dalton more, faster and able to use his foot speed and create his own separation. Can hit a lot of variety of sets with Joe, and Pat's just a big, strong cat that has played it a long time and really hard to deal with.
Hashtag what?
This hashtag what brought to you by First Hawaiian Bank in Hawaii. Fortunate to have Solberg and Gassman back again this season. So give me a hashtag that kind of represents what you feel about those two, Tui.
I'm going to go with hashtag X Factor. I think that as many times as we talk about the pins and give credit to them, I think that Patrick and Dalton worked extremely hard on the offense. And coming from the defensive numbers they put up on Friday night, I think that comes a lot from the middles blocking, the middles getting good block touches, and just letting the libero dig and letting the offense run smoothly.
And as far as I go, as far as my hashtag, I'm going to go with working. And the reason I say that is because I was a middle blocker. And I'll tell you what, you work your butt off. And these two work their butts off. They go from right to left. They drive the middle. They drive the three. They drive the slide. They're all over the court. And they do, like Tui said, work very hard. They're the X factor. They don't get a lot of credit oftentimes, but they work very, very hard in the middle.
Yes, and they definitely have helped out Hawaii. There are some other guys that are in the wings waiting for their opportunities. A couple of freshmen and a sophomore. There you see Rosenfeld and Hoagland and Danny Wong. All three of those are working hard to someday maybe take the place of Solberg and Gassman once they graduate. And here's a little rundown on the guys that are waiting for it.
Our freshmen and Max have a lot of potential. Like, it just needs to be molded a little bit more. And with Milan on our side, it's easily going to happen. But what's great about them is they're always asking questions.
Middle is about being a really good athlete, being really quick, being really good at reading, being able to jump high and put the ball down really fast. And so I think definitely putting an emphasis on them to get in the weight room and to better themselves that way is important.
Yeah, and it's something, you know, as a coach that you hope, and we really have, I think, kind of evolved that way, where the culture right now that the young guys are looking up to the older guys, everything from the intensity that they bring to practice. You know, Dalton is not only, you know, the best student on our team, but he's one of the best students at the university. You know, his academic career is impressive. And, you know, that's something that, you know, I hope the younger guys look at too. And, you know, the idea is to do your best and try to be your best in everything.
Lisa, you talked about how hard it is to be a middle, all the working involved in it. Does it take a little longer for the middles to develop as opposed to the pin hitters?
Well, I'd have to say so. You look at Dalton Solberg, it's a great example. He played in 6 games his freshman year, 19 his sophomore year. His junior year, he started all of them, and now look how far he's come in those 4 years. It takes a long time to get good in the middle, and especially according to Tui, he played as an opposite.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that. Dalton came in as a pin hitter, and so the amount of work that he had to put in to convert to be at the level he's at right now is probably being noticed by the middles that are coming up from the bench, and I think that's going to pay off for them in the long run.
Well, you look at Joe Worsley, he's an undersized setter. Dalton Solberg, an undersized middle. Yet Hawaii's found a way to use that to both of those guys' advantage.
Well, I think his quickness, you know, is a big part of it. And Joe Worsley and Pat Gassman actually played together at Pac Rim on the mainland before college, so they also have a really nice connection in the middle as well.
Yeah, I think that the connection that the middles have with the setters, they've taken thousands of reps together. I mean, I don't think a lot of people know how many reps they take outside of practice. I know Joe's a really big stickler on that, and it's paying off for them for sure. It shows on the court, and yeah.
The middles are the X factor, and they are working. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll break down the rematch, Hawaii and Stanford. Well, Hawaii-Stanford met just 2 nights ago on Friday. It was all Rainbow Warriors as they won it in 3 over the Cardinal. What will happen here on a Sunday night? Well, I know one thing. Let's take a look at the impact players for the Cardinal, and they're led by Jalen Jasper.
Well, Jalen Jasper he struggled a little bit. He had 7 kills and 23 attempts the other night, but don't expect that of him tonight. He will be back. And Jordan Everett, the go-to guy, the outside hitter, 14 kills 2 nights ago. And, of course, Tyler Presho, whose dad is Mark Presho, an alumni for the UH men's volleyball team.
And he looks and even carries himself like his father. It's scary. How about for the University of Hawaii, too? You know these guys.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to continue what they did Friday. I know they had big production from the pins from Steinman Tilburg and Rado Parapunov. I want to see a little more contribution from Colton Cowell. I think they need to contribute him a little more if they want to be a little more well-rounded throughout this night. And I think other than that, they're on the right track.
All right, bust out the scale because we're all going to weigh in. It's brought to you by Bank of Hawaii. Actually, we're not going to weigh in on the scale, but we're going to weigh in on the rematch, guys. Hawaii won in 3. They did get pushed in that second set to a couple of extra points, but pretty much it was all Rainbow Warriors. What do you look for tonight in the rematch, Lisa?
Well, I'm thinking that Hawaii is going to continue to do more of the same. They're going to try to get in rhythm, get in sync, establish the middles, push the ball out to what we call the pins, or the outside hitters. And for Stanford, for the Cardinal, I really think that they have to serve. They have to put more pressure on the Rainbow Warriors in order to get the Warriors out of system, if you will.
I think, like how Lisa was saying, they have to find some sort of rhythm because there wasn't a lot of it from the attacking, from the service, from the first night. And I think from a Cardinal standpoint, they need to find some rhythm from the service line, connecting to the middles, to the pins, and just something to feed off of to the rest of the night in front of a great crowd like this.
And if you're Hawaii, maybe you tweak some things, you change some things up so you're not as predictable. You're not doing the same thing you did 2 nights ago, I would guess.
Well, yeah, and Hawaii has been. With those 20 days off, they went back into the gym, and you saw a couple of really great new plays 2 nights ago where they ran Steinvall and Tilburg on the inside. It was actually an awesome play, as well as a lot more hits out of the back court. So I think Hawaii is changing things up quite a bit offensively.
Yeah, I think that they're gonna keep doing what they did from the first night. Offensively, I mean, you know what they're saying is don't fix what's not broken, right?
Right.
So I think they're gonna keep feeding their pins. Joe loves to do that and find some consistency in the middle.
Okay, Tui, you were correct on Friday. You said Hawaii in 3. What do you think tonight?
I gotta go Hawaii in 3 again.
All right, he can make it 2 in a row. I'm not going to ask you because we don't want to botch it. If they don't win in 3, we can blame Tui. Though the 3 of us will be back at intermission. But coming up next, Kanoa and Ryan with the call, Hawaii and Stanford. Highlights night 2, Hawaii and Stanford. We start off with the 2-time first-team All-American Stein von Tilburg flying out from the back row. Von Tilburg led the way for the Bows with 12 kills. He hit .444 on the night. How about Colton Cowell from Maui? He was almost perfect on the night. 8 kills on 15 swigs, no errors. Hit .533 and contributed a couple of service aces. And Rado Parapunov continues to roll in 2019. He came away with 10 kills without an error. Hit a robust .588 to lead the way. But the story all night long from behind the service line. Hawaii with 9 service errors, 4 of them by Parapunov, a couple by Solbrig, 2 by Cowell, and Hawaii makes it a quick Super Bowl Sunday evening as they sweep the Cardinal of Stanford.
This is the post-game show on Spectrum Sports.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. It is the post-game show. Scott, Lisa, and Tui. And very rarely in sports do you sit back as a spectator and watch a team and you tell yourself, this team is special. I think we can say that about this 2019 men's volleyball team. This is a special team.
Being from, playing last year, and I think I'm really impressed with the progress that the team has made. I mean, it's a lot different being on the court, right? And I see, everyone hitting the ball. And but from the outside, from being a spectator, it's really cool to see, the camaraderie that they've had throughout the year before this match. And huge improvement from the service line. I was really impressed.
Yeah, when we talk about special, I think that word was said a million times tonight. They're a special team. They are just vastly improved. You can see that they've been in the weight room, the heat behind the service line, the sound. You can close your eyes and hear the sound of the ball. The pressure they're putting on their opponents just from the service line and then hitting. And then defensively, all the little things, again, that 20-day break, I think, really helped. But you can see they've really spent a lot of time in the weight room and doing a lot of breakdown. And you can also see in some of the guys admitted this at the beginning of the season, that snub by the NCAA a year ago, keeping them out and you guys out of the NCAA tournament, which was ludicrous, they've used that as motivation.
You hit home right there. I mean, I think I still feel a little pain from last year. No, I'm just kidding. But, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The guys I know in the offseason really took that serious and really took to the weight room, really took to getting extra reps outside of practice. And just being a team bonding, through little events and whatnot. And you wouldn't think so, but little things like that count. Spending time with teammates, maybe in school or maybe at a lunch and whatnot. It all counts to when you come onto the court.
I think the trip to Japan probably really helped them as well as far as getting somewhere, going out, off the island, team bonding and growth. But I think adversity oftentimes creates an opportunity, and I think that's how this team has taken it. And I'm just sad that Tui unfortunately was on the other end of that, but at the same time, as you look at the growth of the team, that adversity has inspired them to be where they are now.
I was watching Tui. He was living vicariously through the guys on the floor. He's still part of the team in a lot of ways. All right, now keep in mind, Hawaii just swept what was or is the number 8 team in the country. Take a look at the stats brought to you by Levitt, Yamani, and Solder. And they're mind-boggling.
They really are, and again, look at Hawaii's hitting percentage, 544. That is crazy. It's not that Stanford at 236 was playing awful or terrible or anything. It's just that Hawaii was that much stronger.
I gotta say, I'm really liking that 29 digs right there coming from a libero. I'm really impressed with that. But I think that goes back to our X factors. The middles did great tonight. I mean, you don't see the productivity that Solberg had tonight compared to the first night, but I think it was the little things like how Lisa was saying was, setting up a disciplined block for our diggers to get the digs and getting the block touches and whatnot to convert and get the points that we need to.
Well, your protege, Gage Worsley, had another terrific night using his elbows and his fist and his forearms to get balls from hitting off the floor, and he has really, really done a nice job.
Look at that guy bounce around. I don't think I'll ever be that limber. Look at him. Goodness gracious.
I think it was the libero diet, that you taught him. Low to the ground.
And how about his brother, Joe Worsley? We talk about him all the time, about how he is able to do things that other teams don't see as a setter, but he also can hit the ball, he can block. I mean, he's just so all around an outstanding volleyball player.
Well, he's just a student of the game. I mean, he sits at home and he watches international ball. Thanks to social media, he can watch a lot of things, and he learns, and he's a team leader. He's a natural leader, and he leads by example.
I want to make this comparison. He's kind of like the Tom Brady. He's just a great player, and he's got a lot of experience under his belt. I mean, I think it helps having his brother out there. I mean, it makes the synergy a lot easier, and that's going to go far for them.
Well, Josh Tuaninga, the setter for Long Beach State, won the award National Player of the Year a year ago. I absolutely say Joe Worsley has to be in that conversation. I know it's early, but he's going to be in that conversation at the end of the season. We'll take a break. Come back. We'll have more from the corner. Hawaii wins in 3 over number 8 Stanford.
Welcome back to the post-game show on Spectrum Sports.
Another successful evening for the University of Hawaii men's volleyball team. They win in 3 against the Cardinals. Stanford, one of the leaders for the Bows, out on the floor tonight and every night. Joins us in the corner, Stein Von Tilburg. And Stein, first off, congratulations.
Thank you.
The one thing I've noticed watching your progression from your first year to now has been how much you have improved defensively. We always knew you could hit the ball and put it down. Talk about the improvement and what you've worked on to get better as a defensive player.
We talk a lot about defense, that defense wins championships, and you see today in the Super Bowl. But we always want to improve, and over time you learn from great liberos like Colby Kanataka and this guy over here. So, you're trying to take the best from everything.
Oh, that was nice. Thanks, bud.
They were rehearsing that before we went on the air.
I want to ask you a couple of things about this year's team. It's still really early, but what is the difference? What's the biggest difference this year as opposed to last season?
I mean, all the angriness that we have from how it ended last year and everything, how just that the fact that we felt like we left something on the court, that's all coming out today. And you can hear it sometimes, a little trash talk here and there to other players and hyping each other up every time. But it's all coming out every day in practice, every day when we wake up, when we go to sleep, every day.
It's fun watching you guys from the chairs over here, and coming from a guy that has a lot of sets every match. How does it feel when everyone is doing super well and you kind of don't have to carry as much of a load, I guess?
I mean, it's amazing. Just watching other players go off watching Rado and Joe and Colton, Dalton, Pat all feast. It's just I'm in awe sometimes of myself. Like Joe, every time I'm just wow. It's so cool to be surrounded by so much talent.
Veteran teams usually are the better teams in the country when it comes to men's volleyball. You guys are very veteran. It almost seems like you guys can talk without saying something out loud to one another. You've been playing together for so long. You know exactly what to do.
Yeah,
we
talk about everything everywhere in the training room. When we see each other walking through class, sometimes it's like, hey, have you seen this and this? And or in the locker room, just every time we can talk about everything. Just over communicate the whole time.
Share with the viewing audience what you guys' trip to Japan did for the team as a whole.
Just camaraderie and seeing a different style of volleyball, watching other just all that defense going on and how important it is and how how other teams, if you get dug every time, they're just like, damn, how frustrating it is for other teams if they get dug every time or you get dug every time. So that was awesome.
Tui, you have anything to say to your buddy?
You know how I always tell you to work on your passing. I'm always going to tell him that every time I see him. And great job tonight. I hope to see more of that later on in the season.
I got to ask you one last thing because you brought up the Super Bowl at the very beginning. You're from Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Had you ever even watched American football before you moved here?
Not really. These guys got me into it, and I think that's something so amazing about playing for Hawaii is that I'm able to call these guys and Tui and all these guys in the past my very best friends and so close, and you learn so much from each other, and I'll never forget that.
Do you like American football now?
Yeah, I do. It's fun. It's fun. Actually, it's a lot.
This guy thinks Tom Brady's a cheater. I don't know what he's talking about. But,
he deflates balls. Come on, man.
So it's not only Americans that think that.
No. You gotta respect greatness. Huh? You can't hate the player, hate the game.
Great volleyball player. I don't know about football analysts. Just stick to the volleyball court, buddy.
Hey, Stein, continued success. Have a fun and safe trip in North Carolina.
Thank you.
All right, Stein von Tilburg, now a big American football fan and not too bad a volleyball player either. We'll come back and have more from the corner.
Welcome back to the Postgame Show on Spectrum Sports.
Well, with Hawaii's win, they are now 5-0, but let's get a look and see how the fellow Big West Conference teams are doing. Long Beach State, the #1 team in the country, sitting at 10-0. Of course, Hawaii at 5-0. That's because they had like a 3-week off period. They'll start playing more and more volleyball. UC Irvine checks in at 11-2. UCSB this past weekend beat BYU twice. They are 9-3. CSUN 6-5. And UCSD, they're 5-6, but that's a little bit of a better start than they've had recently. So that is going to be a very difficult conference. At not last week, the week before, the top 3 teams in the country were out of the Big West in Long Beach, Irvine, Hawaii. Now it's Long Beach and Hawaii, 1 and 2. The upcoming schedule, we mentioned they're going to North Carolina, Charlotte, a couple of matches against the Queens Royals, as well as one against EIVA St. Francis before returning home for a pair of matches on the 15th and 17th against Lincoln Memorial. So Hawaii, coming into this series, we wanted to see how they would perform. Definitely the toughest opponent they had faced to date, and it really didn't seem to matter.
No, it really didn't, because they just took care of business, basically. They came in and to beat this Stanford Cardinal, ranked #8, who just had beat UC Irvine at #2 in the conference, and they beat them 3 straight both nights. It's a pretty loud statement.
I know that Stein and the guys are thinking, in the back of their heads that as good as his victory is and how well they played, the real test is going to be on the road. And I know they have road matches coming up, and the real test is going to be at the top 5 at Long Beach. We got at BYU, which is always a tough crowd to play against, and I believe at UC Irvine, which is always a fun match.
That's kind of why I asked Charlie about the weird scheduling of going all the way to North Carolina. Now, I know last year you guys played in that Grow the Game challenge in Nashville, Tennessee. The competition will not be tough for Hawaii next weekend, but it's all the intangibles, I think, of traveling for the first time and kind of things that he brought up that kind of gives you an idea what you can expect on the road.
Right, it's like how Stein said. I mean, you know how they have the camaraderie off the court, how they say hi to each other. It's just another opportunity for that. Just like their Japan trip, and I think that, it'll pay off for them in the long run. And it's also good to get, some of the bench out of there on the courts to get some experience under their belts. And we never know who's going to come in towards the end of the season. There's always those 1 or 2 players that seem to impress the crowd, and we'll see how it goes.
Kind of like Brent Rosemeyer tonight. He got the opportunity to come in, and he played very well. He served some bombs, and he swung away, and he was a starter last year, so he got an opportunity. And I think there will be plenty more opportunities when they take this road trip down to North Carolina.
Well, Tui, I want to say you did an outstanding job filling in here.
Thank you very much.
On the side set with Game On and the post-game show. We really appreciate it. And we'll probably have you back again.
That sounds good to me. It's a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
I also want to mention to our crew, this is the final six games in 5 days of the University of Hawaii sports, and the Spectrum Sports crew, from the folks in the truck to the guys out here. Terrific job. You guys are my heroes. That'll wrap things up for us here this evening. Special thanks to all those guys. For Tui, for Lisa, I'm Scott. Until next time, we bid you aloha and a good evening from the Stan Sheriff Center in Mano.